News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A river rescue on the Clark Fork points out the dangers of high water. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning, Thursday, May 5th, 2016. Another lovely morning in western Montana. It's mostly clear, just a few clouds pretty much over the mountains, 47 degrees right now. And our newscast this morning, sponsored by Transport Equipment. They're your headquarters for RV service, maintenance, and repair. They do exceptional work on fleet vehicles as well. Give them a call at 541-9097. The Missoula Fire Department was called out to the Clark Fork River Tuesday afternoon after receiving a call that a boater had been stranded on an isler after he capsized. Captain Casey Veldkamp provides details.
The canoe he was in dumped him, and we got a call for rescue on the river about 4:30. Our battalion chief dispatched. We had 2 engines dispatched, and we were to the boathouse along the river there, and we launched the rescue watercrafts, and also Life Flight and Rural Engine 311 was dispatched.
Due to high water danger below the Reserve Street Bridge, rescue crews were dispatched down from 3rd Street.
We were on the rescue watercraft, the jet skis, and we went downstream and found them, and we put him on a jet ski and brought him to land where he was able to walk out with the engine crew of ours. He was okay on scene. He was just stranded and unable to get out where he was.
Veldkamp says the incident points out the danger of boating and floating when the waters are high, as they are now. The issue of infrastructure is becoming a central focus in the Montana gubernatorial race, as both sides are blaming the other for the political deadlock that's kept state officials from establishing a funding source for roads, bridges, sewers, and other projects. At a Capitol News conference yesterday, Republican Greg Gianforte accused Governor Steve Bullock of stubbornly opposing Republican proposals to address the state's infrastructure needs. Meanwhile, Bullock traveled to Butte to again pitch a $200 million plan he unveiled last week. While Bullock and Gianforte say infrastructure funding will be a top priority, neither has yet to flesh out any details of their plans. A key obstacle is differences over funding. Gianforte says he was not opposed to using bonds to help pay for some of those projects. Save the Merc proponents brought in the big guns yesterday in their efforts to stave off the possible demolition of the iconic Missoula Mercantile Building. Senior Field Officer for the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Jennifer Buddenborg, said her organization has been closely following the situation here in Missoula.
We have been following what's been going on here in terms of the public concern over the proposal that's on the table for the demolition of the building. And we're trying to generate some public interest and discussion in historic places like the Merc in Missoula, how those continue to be community assets are revitalized for community use.
Montana Preservation Alliance Executive Director Cheryl Justo said other communities have been able to come together to save historic buildings like the Mercantile.
There are ways in other communities where incentives have been applied. For example, there are historic preservation tax credits, there are new market tax credits. The city can play a role with TIF funding, and when you can combine those things into a package of development, it does pencil out.
The Missoula Historic Preservation Commission has until June 2nd to either approve or deny a demolition permit for Bozeman-based Home Base, Montana, so they can begin construction of a Residence Inn by Marriott on the current site of the Missoula Mercantile. Madison County Sheriff says the search for a 60-year-old Butte man who went missing during a weekend camping trip north of Twin Bridges has moved into a recovery effort. Sheriff Roger Thompson says Cole Baylor was last seen early Saturday morning at a family campsite near the Jefferson River. Thompson says there's no sign of foul play and no indication that Baylor was depressed. Thompson told the Montana Standard the river has dropped noticeably since Sunday, and the change in river levels, quote, may reveal something, end quote. The search was to resume this morning. An environmental group is asking a federal judge to halt a United States government program allowing the export of tens of thousands of bobcat pelts and a small number of gray wolf pelts for sale on the international fur market. Attorneys for Wild Earth Guardians said yesterday the little-known export program shouldn't be allowed to continue without a study of its effects on wildlife populations across the nation. The group filed a lawsuit in federal court in Missoula, challenging the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service program. The program regulates trade in animal parts according to an international treaty ratified back in 1975. National Trapping Association President Chris McAllister says the suit is simply an attempt to shut down the trapping industry. Missoula's Franklin Elementary School will be celebrating its 100th birthday on Friday, but it won't be around to celebrate turning 101 next year. Missoula County Public Schools District 1 Communications Director Hatton Littman explains.
Franklin Franklin Elementary School has been in the district since 1916. It was actually considered an expansion out to the suburbs when it was first opened with only 6 classrooms. And as a 100-year-old building, it's aging. It's not big enough for the students who go to school there now, and even though it was the latest and greatest in building construction at the turn of the century, it really isn't keeping up with our standards today.
The facility now has many more than just 6 classrooms, but after demolition, only the basketball court will remain.
It's in fact a total rebuild. The only thing that's remaining on the site is the gymnasium. But we are working to reclaim some of those building materials, and we feel really good about the fact that we're building a new school for that neighborhood. The building will open for students in August of 2017. So there's a tight construction timeline, which will actually start on Saturday after school ends this summer.
A birthday celebration will be held in the Franklin Elementary Gym at 9:30 tomorrow morning. The event's open to the public. They'll have historical elements of Franklin's past on display. The University of Montana School of Business Administration now has a permanent endowed position, thanks to a gift from Carol Jean Burns on behalf of her husband Donald. Kate Stober from UM's Foundation explains.
We were lucky enough to receive a gift from a donor who passed away recently, and she, through a community foundation in Tampa Bay, Florida, gave us $1 million to endow a professorship of finance at the School of Business Administration. Her husband was a alum and really gave back to in a lot of different ways.
The Donald and Carol Jean Burns Professorship in Finance has been filled by Professor Keith Jacobs since 2007, but this endowment ensures he won't be the last.
She created this professorship, the Burns Professorship in Finance, in 2003, and we've had 2 wonderful professors here serving in that position since then, and now with this most recent $1 million gift, she's endowed the position, so we'll have funding for it in perpetuity, which is amazing. The
endowment isn't Carol Jean Burns' only aid to UM. Back in 1997, she began a merit-based scholarship for business undergraduate and graduate students from Montana that's helped fund 25 students so far. And a committee that's been studying how best to handle growth at Bozeman High School is recommending that the school district build a second high school that would open in the year 2020. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports the panel voted 24-7 in favor of splitting up the state's largest high school. They also had considered building a school for up to 2,200 students in grades 10 through 12 and educating 8th and 9th graders at the current high school. Superintendent Rob Watson says the school board will make the final decision. A bond issue would be put before voters in May of 2017. Opponents are concerned about the loss of some electives and advanced placement classes. Our Newstalk time, 6:12.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy skies today with scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Highs will be right around the 80-degree mark. Increasing winds and lingering showers and storms tonight. The threat of thunder will diminish on Friday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.